Cavewoman goes to the supermarket for the first time. Zara woke up while the sun was still low on the horizon. Not because she needed to hunt or gather roots, but because today would be different. Today, for the first time in her 32 years of life, she was going to a supermarket. Discovered by a team of anthropologists 6 months ago in a remote cave in the Anatolian mountains, Zara had lived her entire life isolated from the modern world. Her tribe, just 8 people, maintained a way of life virtually unchanged for millennia. They used stone tools, hunted with spears, wore animal skins, and lit fires by rubbing sticks together. The first few months after contact were a whirlwind of adjustments. Learning that the world had billions of people. Understanding that those shiny boxes called cars moved on their own. Discovering that water could come out of pipes in the wall. Each day brought revelations that challenged everything she knew about reality. But today would be special. Today she would visit the place where modern men and women obtained food without hunting, gathering, or planting. A place called a supermarket. Marina, the anthropologist who became her main guide in this new world, arrived early at the apartment where Zara was temporarily living. Ready for adventure? Marina smiled, carrying a large bag. Zara looked at her own clothes, jeans and a t-shirt, still strange to the touch. For months, she had insisted on wearing the furs of her tribe, but eventually she accepted that, in this world, clothes were different. Still, she missed the familiar weight of tanned leather. Ready? Zara replied in her still hesitant Portuguese. She had an amazing ability to learn languages, something that fascinated the linguists who studied her. In the car, Marina explained what she expected to find. It's a big, enclosed place, with lots and lots of things. Food of all kinds. It's going to be very different from anything you've ever seen. Zara nodded, but she couldn't really imagine it. How could she? The parking lot was the first shock. Hundreds of cars parked in perfect lines, like domesticated herds. Zara remembered the first time she saw cars. She thought they were living creatures, metallic beasts that roared and moved. Even now, knowing they were machines, they still made her uneasy. But nothing had prepared her for entering the supermarket. The doors slid open on their own as they approached, as if the building itself were inviting her inside. Zara stopped, startled, and Marina gently touched her shoulder. They're just sensors. They detect when someone is approaching. Magic? Zara asked. Marina laughed softly. No, it's technology. But I understand why it seems like magic. As she stepped through the doors, Zara was struck by a wave of sensations. The cool air, she had experienced air conditioning before, but never on such a scale. The bright lights on the ceiling, hundreds of them, making everything as clear as midday. And the sounds. Soft music playing from nowhere. The beeping of cash registers, distant conversations echoing. But it was what she saw that made her stop completely. Rows and rows of shelves stretched ahead, each laden with vibrant colors. Red, yellow, blue, green, bright packages that almost hurt the eyes. It was as if someone had captured all the fruits, flowers, and birds in the world and transformed them into small, neatly arranged packages. There are so many colors, Zara whispered, her voice thick with wonder and fear. Marina gently guided her inside. Let's take it slow. We can explore section by section. They started in the produce section. Zara recognized a few things. Apples, although they were much larger and redder than the wild ones she knew. But there were so many others that I had no idea what they were. What is that? She pointed to a pile of pineapples. Pineapple. It's a sweet fruit. And that. Kiwi. And that. Pitaya. Each answer brought more questions. Where did they come from? How did they grow? Why were they so perfect, without any insect marks or disease? Marina explained about modern agriculture, pesticides, genetic selection. But Zara barely listened. She was fascinated by the idea that all those fruits were there, at the same time, in the same place. In the cave, they ate what the season offered. Wild fruits in the summer, roots in the winter, meat when the hunt was good. Here, everything was available all the time. When they arrived at the butcher shop, Zara felt a wave of recognition. Meat, that she understood. But her joy lasted only a moment. It's all cut up, she murmured, touching the cold glass that separated the meat from the customers. Perfectly cut fillets, packaged in clear plastic, with labels indicating price and type. Ribs, chicken, fish, all cleaned, skinless, with no visible bones in many cases, and with no indication of the animal they came from. Where are the animals? Zara asked. Marina hesitated. How could she explain industrial slaughterhouses to someone who had always hunted her own food, who looked into the animal's eyes before killing it, who thanked the creature's spirit for giving its life? They are being prosecuted elsewhere, far from here. Zara frowned. In her tribe, killing an animal was a sacred act. You watched the life leave the creature's eyes. You cleaned and prepared every part, using everything: meat, bones, skin, tendons. Nothing was wasted because you had taken a life. Here, the meat was just meat, disconnected from any living creature. Don't people hunt? She asked. Some hunt for sport or tradition, but most buy meat that way. Zara remained silent, processing. It wasn't judgment, just strange. So strange. Marina led her to a different aisle with bags of rice, beans, pasta, and grains. Zara recognized some of the grains. Her tribe occasionally encountered wild fields of ancient wheat, but the variety was staggering. Does all this come from plants? She asked, picking up a box of breakfast cereal with a colorful tiger on the front. Yes, mainly wheat, corn, oats, and rice. Zara turned the box over, trying to read the ingredients. There were words she didn't know in any language. Marina explained about food processing, additives, and preservatives. Why do they need to preserve it? Zara asked. Why not eat it fresh? Because food needs to last. It travels long distances, sits on shelves for weeks or months before someone buys it. The idea was almost incomprehensible. In the cave, you ate what you hunted or gathered that day. Perhaps the next day you could preserve the meat by drying it in the sun or smoking it. Food was immediate, connected to the moment. Here, the food was timeless. It existed in a kind of suspension, waiting. Then they arrived at the frozen food section. Zara opened one of the glass doors and was instantly hit by icy air. She recoiled in fright. It's as cold as winter, she exclaimed. It's to keep the food frozen. That way it lasts much longer. Zara looked at the products. Frozen pizzas, ice cream, frozen vegetables, ready meals. She picked up a box with a picture of a steaming lasagna. Is this food? Yes. You put it in the oven or microwave and it's ready to eat. Zara stared at the box for a long moment. Food that didn't need to be hunted, harvested, prepared from scratch. Food that could be frozen for months and still be eaten. It was so far removed from his experience that he could barely process it. It was as if he had been told that he could store the sun in a box and use its light later. As they walked through the aisles, Zara observed the other shoppers. They picked up items from the shelves indifferently, tossed them into their carts, and moved on. There was no admiration, no reverence. A woman walked by pushing a shopping cart overflowing with groceries, talking on the phone, barely glancing at what she was putting in it. Zara watched her, fascinated. She's not impressed? Marina laughed. No, for her this is normal. It's just buying groceries. But there's so much food. Zara gestured around. Enough food to feed my tribe for years. And she doesn't even look. Marina touched his arm gently. I know it sounds strange, but when you grow up with it, seeing supermarkets your whole life, you lose the magic. Magic, Zara repeated. The word came back, because that's what it felt like, magic. A spell that made food plentiful, that removed the struggle for survival. They reached the candy and chocolate aisle. Zara stopped, mesmerized. Hundreds of types of sweets, each in packaging more colorful than the last. She had never tasted refined sugar. The sweetest thing she had ever experienced was ripe fruit and the occasional wild honey. Marina picked up a chocolate bar. Want to try some? After paying, she opened the package and offered a piece to Zara. Zara put it in her mouth and her eyes widened. It was sweet, so sweet it almost hurt. Rich, creamy, melting on the tongue. For a moment, she was transported. It was as if she were tasting the concentrated essence of all pleasure. "That's incredible," she whispered. Marina smiled. "Welcome to the chocolate." Zara ate the rest of the chocolate slowly, savoring each piece. Then she looked at the hundreds of other bars on the shelves. "Can people eat this whenever they want?" "Try." "And do they eat?" "Many people eat, perhaps even too much." Zara shook her head in amazement. In the cave, anything sweet was a rare treasure. Here it was commonplace. After an hour in the supermarket, Zara began to feel strange. There was too much of everything. Too many lights, too many colors, too many choices, too many mixed smells. Her body, accustomed to the natural rhythms of the cave, to the darkness of night and the light of day, was overwhelmed. I need to get out," she said, her voice tense. Marina understood immediately. "Of course, let's finish up and leave." They grabbed a few basic items, fruit, bread, cheese, and went to the checkout. Zara watched, fascinated, as the cashier scanned each item, and numbers appeared on a screen. "How does she know the price of everything?" Zara asked. "It's in the barcode. The machine reads it and knows the price." More magic. More technology that seemed like magic. Marina paid with a plastic card, and Zara remembered when she first learned about money. The concept that pieces of paper or plastic had value had taken weeks to make sense. In the cave, value was in what you could use: a sharp spear, a warm hide, a piece of meat. Outside the supermarket, Zara took a deep breath of the fresh air. The sun was higher now, warming her skin. She stood still for a moment, letting the experience settle in. "What did you think?" Marina asked gently. Zara thought for a long moment before answering. "It's like a dream," she finally said, "but also like a nightmare." Marina waited, letting her elaborate. "There's so much food. More food than my tribe could eat in a lifetime. And it's so easy, you just take it and go. You don't have to hunt, track for days, risk your life. You don't have to dig up roots with bleeding hands. You just take it." She paused, her eyes distant. "But it's also sad. People don't know where their food comes from. They don't know the animals that died. They don't feel the earth where the plants grew. It's all separate. Food is no longer part of the world. It's just things in boxes." Marina nodded slowly. "You're right. We lost that connection." "In the cave," Zara continued, "when we killed a deer, it was an event. Everyone participated. We thanked the spirit of the deer. We used every part. It was sacred." She looked back at the supermarket. Here, food isn't sacred. It's just available. In the car, Zara sat quietly, looking out the window. Her mind was trying to process everything she had seen. Marina respected her silence. After a while, Zara spoke again. "I understand why people live like this. It's easier, safer. In the cave, sometimes we went hungry. Sometimes the hunting was bad and we had to eat tree bark to survive. Children died of hunger." She turned to Marina. "Here, nobody needs to go hungry. That's good. That's miraculous." "But," Marina sensed that a but was coming. "But you also lost something. You lost knowing that life comes from death. That to eat, something must die, an animal, a plant. You lost the gratitude of finding food after days of searching." She paused. "You have plenty, but you don't have, I don't know the word, appreciation," Marina offered. "Yes, appreciation. When you can have chocolate whenever you want, chocolate is no longer special." Back in the apartment, they organized the groceries. Zara was still learning how to use the refrigerator, another miracle that kept food cold without natural ice. She picked up one of the apples they had bought and held it in her hand, feeling its weight, its texture. "You know," she said, "this apple probably grew far from here. Someone picked it, put it in a box, a truck brought it, someone put it on the shelf. So many people touched it before it got to me." She took a bite, savoring it. "It's good, but I'd like to know which tree it came from. I wish I could have picked it myself." Marina sat down next to her. "Do you miss the cave?" Zara considered the question carefully. "Yes and no. I miss the simplicity, knowing each person in my tribe, knowing exactly where everything we ate came from, the connection. She took another bite of the apple. But this world also has good things. Medicine that cures diseases that killed my people. Warm houses in winter. Books that teach about faraway places. And yes, supermarkets where you don't have to worry about whether you'll have food tomorrow. So, Marina said gently, which world is better? Zara laughed, a sound Marina had learned to love. Genuine and unpretentious. I don't know if one is better. They're just different. Each one has magic and each one has sadness. In the weeks that followed, Zara returned to the supermarket several times. Each visit was less overwhelming, more familiar. She learned to navigate the aisles, read labels, and compare prices. But she never lost her sense of wonder. While other shoppers hurried past, glancing at their phones, Zara stopped in front of the shelves, truly looking. She picked up each item, felt its weight, and read where it came from. These bananas came from Ecuador, she would say, marveling. They traveled thousands of kilometers to get here. Other shoppers sometimes gave her strange looks, but she didn't mind. To her, every item in the supermarket was a small wonder. Evidence of a complex and incredible network of agriculture, transport, and trade that spanned the entire world. Once, an elderly gentleman saw her holding a can of tuna, studying it intently. "First time buying tuna?" he asked, smiling. "First time seeing fish in a can," she replied honestly. He laughed, thinking it was a joke. Marina wrote about Zara's experience in her research journal. Taking Zara to the supermarket for the first time made me see something I considered completely mundane with new eyes. For her, a supermarket is both a miracle and a tragedy. A miracle of abundance and convenience, but a tragedy of disconnection and loss of reverence. She's right, of course. We, in modern society, have lost the sense of the sacred in food. We don't think about the lives that nourish our lives. We don't consider the earth, the water, the sun that made our meal possible. We simply buy, cook, eat, and discard. Perhaps it's the price of civilization. Or perhaps, just perhaps, there's a way to have both abundance and gratitude, convenience and connection. Watching Zara in the supermarket reminded me that normality is merely familiarity. What seems ordinary to me is extraordinary to her. And perhaps it should be extraordinary to all of us. Months later, Zara had adapted quite well to the modern world. She learned to use smartphones, navigate traffic, and cook with a stove and microwave. But she retained some of her caveman habits. She grew herbs in pots on her apartment balcony. When possible, she went to local farmers' markets instead of supermarkets, preferring to buy directly from those who grew the food. She began to learn about sustainable agriculture and local food movements. And always before eating, she would pause. It was a brief moment, sometimes just a second, but it was her way of maintaining the connection. A silent thank you to whatever had given her life or growth to nourish her. "What do you do when you stop like that before eating?" a new friend once asked. "I remember," she said simply. "I remember that this was once alive. I remember that my life depends on other lives. I remember being grateful." The friend looked at his own plate of food with new eyes. A year after her first visit to the supermarket, Zara was given the opportunity to choose. Stay in the modern world or return to the region where her tribe lived, with the option to come and go as she pleased. She chose something in between. She would spend half the year with her tribe, maintaining ancient traditions, and half in the modern world, learning and sharing. On her last visit to the supermarket before leaving for her first trip back home, she walked slowly through the aisles, savoring the experience. Marina followed her, watching Zara lightly touch the shelves, looking at the products with that same admiring gaze from the first day. "Are you going to miss this?" Marina asked. Zara smiled. "I'll miss some of the chocolates," she joked. Then she turned serious. "But yes, I'll miss the abundance, the ease, the security of knowing there's food. But also," she continued, "I'm eager to go back to hunting, to feel the earth in my hands, to get to know every single thing I eat." She picked one last apple, the last one she would buy for months. "The trick," she said, "is to remember. To remember here that food comes from the earth and from sacrifice. To remember there that the world is vast and full of possibilities." She paid for the apple and went out into the sun. Marina followed her, wondering how a woman from the Stone Age had, in just 1 year, understood something that many in modern society take a lifetime to learn or never learn. True wealth lies not only in having, but in appreciating what you have. Abundance without gratitude is empty. And perhaps, just perhaps, there is wisdom in looking at an ordinary supermarket with the eyes of someone seeing it for the first time and recognizing the miracle that it truly is.